Have you ever shared an intimate night with someone, and after the lights dimmed, you suddenly felt as though you'd been touched in the deepest part of yourself, not your body, but your soul, a lingering gaze in the stillness, a hand gently resting on your shoulder, not out of passion, but out of connection, a breath syncing with yours, as if both of you had just stepped out of your individual selves and into an invisible space where true love begins. Have you ever shared an intimate night with someone, and after the lights dimmed, you suddenly felt as though you'd been touched in the deepest part of yourself, not your body, but your soul, a lingering gaze in the stillness, a hand gently resting on your shoulder, not out of passion, but out of connection, a breath syncing with yours as if both of you had just stepped out of your individual selves and into an invisible space where true love begins. So how can you tell if a man truly loves you, or if it's just fleeting passion? Jung believed that love isn't just a feeling, it's a spiritual phenomenon. It happens when the anima within a man, his inner feminine archetype, awakens upon encountering the image of his soul's counterpart. That's when his body begins to express what words never could. That's why today we're exploring 4 unconscious behaviors men only show in bed when they're truly in love. Not learned gestures, not techniques, but instinctive rituals, things only a soul that's opened its door can reveal. This isn't just relationship advice, it's a map to help you read the soul behind the skin. If you've ever felt confused by a man's silence after making love, or been moved to tears by a gaze that lingered too long, stay with us. In the next few minutes, you'll not only understand your partner better, but also learn to recognize true love in the silence, where the ego dissolves and the us begins. Let's step into this journey with Jung, where the unconscious leads the way and love becomes the most sacred act a human being can offer. There's something strangely powerful we often overlook in our most intimate moments: eye contact. While the body speaks through touch and sound, it's the eyes that quietly express what words never could. Carl Jung once wrote, "The eyes are the window to the soul." That wasn't just poetic, it was precise. Because eyes don't just see, they receive, reflect, and sometimes surrender. When a man is truly in love, his gaze doesn't avoid, it searches for yours, as if your eyes were a mirror into his own being. In a world where men are taught never to show weakness, never to feel too much, the eyes become the only place the unconscious can speak freely beyond control. In moments of deep closeness, when the body has shed all armor, the eyes are the first and last place where truth remains. If his gaze lingers soft and unhurried, it doesn't just mean he sees you, it means he's letting you see him. And that's no small thing. It's the greatest act of surrender by the ego, as Jung called it, the part of us terrified of being exposed, of being hurt. But true love cannot exist without that act. When you find him holding your gaze in the most vulnerable moments, it's not just bodies meeting. It's the unconscious speaking soul to soul through the eyes. But what if his gaze avoids yours in those intimate moments? Don't rush to conclude that the feelings aren't real. Jung believed this could be the shadow at work, the hidden repressed part of the psyche. It could be fear of being truly seen, fear of getting hurt, fear of losing control. Many men carry invisible wounds from childhood, the times they were told, "Boys don't cry." Those wounds became armor, making eye contact in vulnerable moments feel dangerous. But here lies the opportunity. If you're sensitive enough, instead of blaming, ask, what is it you're hiding that needs to be seen? Love isn't about perfection, it's about the courage to face what we once kept hidden together. According to Jung, every man carries within him a feminine archetype called the Anima, his inner sensitivity, intuition, and longing for connection. When a man is truly in love, the Anima awakens and he no longer hides. He no longer just wants to be close, he wants to be seen and understood through your eyes. In this case, eye contact becomes more than a gesture, it becomes a soul ritual. His gaze asks, "Do you see the part of you that lives in me?" And if you meet that gaze, then what happens isn't just physical union, it's a union of unconscious minds. A sacred state, Jung called conjunctio in the language of alchemical psychology. Modern neuroscience now confirms what Jung intuited centuries ago: prolonged eye contact between lovers activates brain regions tied to trust, empathy, and bonding. It releases oxytocin, the so-called love hormone. Even more, when two people gaze at each other long enough, their heartbeats, breathing patterns, and limbic responses can sync. The body doesn't lie. So if his eyes seem to drift into you, not with lust, but like he's returning home, it's possible you're his soul image, his symbolic other. Of all the signs of true love, the gaze is the simplest and the hardest to fake. Anyone can learn to say, "I love you." Anyone can master the art of seduction, but no one can train a gaze that trembles with love. So next time you're close to someone, pay attention. Not to judge, but to listen to what his soul might be trying to say. Because sometimes in a gaze that lasts just a few seconds, you'll hear a confession that's never been spoken aloud: "I'm here, with all that I am, and I hope you won't look away." When a man truly loves you, his desire shifts from biological impulse to a sacred act of devotion. In intimate moments, if you pay attention, you'll notice this. He listens more to your body than to his own. He's not rushed, not possessive, not imposing. He moves like he's playing a song, where every breath you take, every shift in your body, is a note he doesn't want to miss. This isn't surface-level chivalry. It's a gesture born from a much deeper place, what Carl Jung called inner archetypal harmony. According to Jung, the shadow, the darker repressed side of the psyche, often fuels selfish desire. It's driven by fear of vulnerability, a need to dominate, or the urge to prove self-worth through sex. But when love is real, something remarkable happens. The shadow steps aside. The anima rises. Anima is the inner feminine within every man, gentle, empathetic, receptive, and longing for union. When a man connects with his anima, his desire shifts from getting to giving, from conquering, to merging with you in a ritual that transcends the physical. Modern science backs this up. When a man is truly in love, his body produces more oxytocin, just like women. This love hormone boosts empathy and emotional attunement, making your joy feel like his own. That's why a single shiver from you can take his breath away, not from lust, but from being moved. A man who loves you deeply shows it in the little things. He pauses to read your response, not to evaluate, but to make sure you're enjoying yourself. He remembers what you once liked, how you once reacted each breath you've taken. As if your body is a map, he's memorized not for advantage, but out of love. He may ask, "Are you okay?" But even if you say nothing, he knows from the curl of your toes or the way your hand gently squeezes his shoulder. And afterward, he doesn't roll away. He stays, as if to say, "Your pleasure is worth waiting for." Jung also emphasized not all men express love the same way. Some are introverted feelers, quiet, reserved, not expressive in words, but highly attuned to details. They might never ask, "Did you enjoy that?" but they'll remember what once made you smile. Others, more extroverted, may talk a lot, ask often, but their actions may not carry the same depth. Look for presence, not just words. Jung categorized men into archetypes. When a man is in deep love, he embodies the lover sensual, emotionally alive, seeking union with the world and with you. If he's matured into the king, his love in the bedroom becomes service-oriented, seeking not just closeness, but to make you feel seen, honored, cherished. A man led by the shadow treats sex as conquesta score to measure his worth. But when led by the anima, giving isn't a tactics, it's a soul's calling. He doesn't need to succeed at pleasuring you, he needs to know you felt received, adored, and touched with all the tenderness he has to give. There's a beautiful saying: he loves you if he makes you feel safe, even in your most vulnerable moments. In the bedroom, safety doesn't come from technique, it comes from presence. If a man makes you feel like you're sacred ground worth tending to, then you're not just having sex, you're being held by love. And that's why Carl Jung believed sex guided by love becomes spiritual transformation, the place where the shadow is healed, the anima reborn, and love turns into a sacred ritual that heals both souls. If what you're hearing makes you feel seen, not just as a lover, but as a soul, learning how to love more deeply, then leave a comment below. Have you ever noticed these signs in the man beside you, or seen yourself change in the presence of real love? Share your story, because sometimes your words might be the light someone else needs on their path. And if you'd like to journey deeper into Jung's world, where love, the unconscious, and healing meet, hit subscribe. Not just to follow, but to awaken the parts of your soul still waiting to be seen. Something strange and beautiful happens right after the body is satisfied, when the moans quiet down, the heart slows, and the dim lights no longer serve as stage props. In that moment, the real self appears. Carl Jung called it the moment between worlds, when the ego goes quiet and the deeper unconscious softly emerges. If the man lying next to you doesn't rush to leave, doesn't avert his gaze, doesn't reach for his phone or retreat into cold silence, but instead shares a childhood memory, or simply holds you as if you were home, listen closely. His soul is speaking. In the stillness following physical union, a space opens a portal into deeper psychology. Like the haze after a dream, surface-level consciousness lifts. Jung believed this was when the unconscious could surface most clearly, unhindered by the mind's filters. That's why a man who truly loves you won't just get up and go. He'll stay not out of politeness, but because his body is too honest to fake it. That's when he tells you about his mother who passed, about his fear of failure, about the time he got hurt, things he's never told anyone. And they don't come out because he planned to say them. They spill out as if love itself had unlocked the door. Freud once said, "Sex is a release for the repressed," but Jung went further. When done with love, sex becomes a ritual of soul transformation. In the post-intimacy state, oxytocin is still flowing, the sympathetic nervous system softens, and the usual defense mechanisms fade. This is when the shadow, the disowned part, has a chance to step forward. And if he feels safe with you, it won't emerge as a monster, but as the wounded child yearning to be held. Not every man reacts the same after sex. Jung noted two types. The withdrawn. He turns away, falls silent, sometimes irritable. It doesn't always mean he doesn't care, but it often signals he's not ready to face his shadow or doesn't feel safe. For him, sex is a segment, not a continuum. The present. He stays both physically and emotionally. He holds you with his body and his eyes. He says things that are disarmingly honest. For these men, sex opens the unconscious, and they're not afraid to let you see what's inside. Jung believed that in sacred moments, two egos could dissolve into one, creating what he called the transcendent functional process of merging inner opposites and stepping into transformation. In love-fueled intimacy, a man doesn't just get close to you, he sees himself reflected in your gaze, your breath. And in that moment, the old ego melts away and his true self is reborn. Some subtle gestures reveal a love that runs deep. He doesn't fall asleep right away. He absent-mindedly runs his fingers through your hair as if trying to memorize you. He whispers, not sexual things, but tiny truths that smile earlier. It made me feel alive. He doesn't lead or control, he lets the silence hold both of you as if your presence alone is enough. Jung believed all humans share a layer of collective unconscious, a storehouse of archetypes and ancient behaviors passed down for generations. Across cultures, post-sex affection is seen not as an afterthought, but a sacred part of the ritual. So if your man holds you as though he's cradling a goddess after making love, he's not acting, it's the collective unconscious speaking through him. When a man stays with you, shares a story, holds you not out of need, but as if he's holding a piece of himself, don't dismiss it. That's not just emotion passing through. That's a ritual of unconscious transformation. Because real love doesn't begin when bodies touch. It begins when egos dissolve and souls are finally seen. And according to Jung, it's in the silence after that, the truth finally arrives. Have you ever laid beside someone and suddenly noticed you're both breathing in sync without even trying? You turn your head, and so do they. You shiver, and their arm instinctively tightens. These aren't coincidences. They're the language of true love, spoken silently by the unconscious whispering, I belong here. Carl Jung called this the sign of participation mystique state, where the boundaries between two selves dissolve and something deeper, older begins to guide behavior. The biology of harmony, when hearts beat in time. In modern neuroscience, this is known as limbic resonance, the emotional synchrony between two nervous systems. It doesn't happen through effort, but through unconscious safety. The body relaxes its defenses, allowing breath, heart rate, even brain waves to sync naturally. That's why when love is deep, we sleep better in each other's arms. We feel calmer just by hearing the other breathe, as if the nervous system finally feels safe enough to rest after a lifetime of tension. Jung believed that deep within our collective unconscious lie sacred archetypes of divine couples, Shiva and Shakti, yin and yang, even Adam and Eve. These symbolic pairs live within us as ancient templates. And when we meet someone who mirrors our soul, those templates awaken, driving us toward harmony, not by learning, but by remembering. Remembering we were once whole and have now found our way back. To Jung, physical synchronization in love isn't just biology, it's an unconscious ritual. A man in love begins to respond to his partner as if she's an extension of himself. You shiver, he squeezes your shoulder. You breathe fast, he adjusts his breath to meet yours. You fall silent. He doesn't rush to fill the void, but joins you in it. Like two meditators entering each other's inner world. Naturally, you'll notice. He mimics your subtle gestures without realizing, yawning when you yawn, shifting when you do exhaling, when you sigh. When you smile, his face softens not, because something was funny, but because his body responds to your energy. When you're silent, he doesn't get uneasy. He stays present without needing words. In symbolic psychoanalysis, Jung believed full harmony only arises when the divine couple archetype is activated, the oldest image of two souls who mirror and complete each other, becoming one without erasing individuality. When a man reaches this state of love, his body behaves not like he's having sex, but like he's performing a sacred rite. Synchronization then isn't about chemistry, it's about ancient souls remembering each other. Not all chemistry is love. Some people learn how to imitate synchrony, but it lacks emotional depth. The difference lies in how you feel afterward. If you feel deeply at peace, held without being touched, and lighter, without knowing why, that's your body responding to authentic synchrony. But if the coordination was perfect, yet left you feeling disconnected, then maybe the soul wasn't really present. Carl Jung once said, "The ego may lie, but the body never does." When a man truly loves, it's his body that betrays the ego. Small things, breathing together, holding hands tighter, falling silent in synchront just habits. They're signs that something deeper is happening. Two souls are breathing as one. And in that moment, when both are silent yet fully present, you don't need promises. You don't need words. Because true love has already spoken. Not in English, not in Vietnamese, but in humanity's oldest language, the silent synchrony of the unconscious. True love isn't always something you hear in words. It doesn't live in I love yous or routine goodnight texts. Deep love, the kind Carl Jung spoke of, is a sacred psychological phenomenon where long-buried parts of the unconscious are finally allowed to live, to breathe, and to love. We've just walked through 4 sacred doorways, subtle signs that carry the soul's quiet message when a man is deeply in love. From a gaze that doesn't look away to the joy he finds in your joy. From the tender aftermath of intimacy to the unspoken synchrony of movement. Each gesture says one thing: he's no longer just one. We're used to measuring love through social standards. Is he thoughtful? Does he text enough? Does he remember anniversaries? But Jung would ask you, when you're with him, does your soul feel touched? Because real love isn't about how often you meet, it's about how fully you show up. A man who truly loves doesn't need to be taught how to love you, because love itself becomes his teacher. And in that space, he's no longer just your lover, he becomes a mirror of your own soul. In a world where even bodies are easily commercialized, Jung reminds us sex can be a rite of transformation. A man who loves you doesn't come to conquer, but to free the parts of his soul once locked away. And in every touch, every breath, every quiet moment after the unspoken vow is this: I choose to stay. If you've ever felt that, you'll know he wasn't just having sex. He was coming home with you. Now leave a piece of you here too. Have you ever experienced a love this deep? Have you noticed these Jungian signs in someone you loved? What part of this video spoke directly to you? Tell your story in the comments. Someone reading may find themselves in your words. And if you feel deeply understood by what you just watched, subscribe, not just to follow, but to explore this journey with us. Carl Jung once wrote, "Love begins where words end, and the soul starts to remember what the mind has forgotten." If this video stirred something ancient in you, a memory of presence connection merging, perhaps your unconscious has just whispered, "You've loved this way before." And maybe you will again, this time more awake, more present, and without fear. See you on the next journey, where we'll explore the psychological warning signs Jung pointed out when love stops being light and turns into possession. Drop your topic ideas in the comments. We're listening. Until then, live fully, love deeply, and let your soul be seen.